Discover the incredible power of silence in 2025, a heartwarming life-changing journey unveiled in a small Midwestern town where cornfields stretch endlessly and the old railway track tells stories of a once bustling economy. Rachel's Café stood proud. Once alive with laughter and the aroma of freshly baked goods, it now echoed the quiet struggles of a community ebbing away. Rachel, a 32-year-old single mother, stood behind the counter, her heart heavy as she glanced at the empty tables, each one a reminder of dwindling hope. What had once been a place of warmth now felt like a weighted silence. Her own heart felt the tremors of it. Every morning, she made Josh his favorite pancake breakfast, hoping he'd hear the hustle and bustle she'd once cherished. How quiet it was now. Josh, just 10, was a little ray of sunshine, brightening her darkest days, yet she could see the worry flickering in his eyes. The uncertainty wrapped around their lives like a winter chill, nipping at their dreams. Rachel breathed in the comforting scents wafting from her kitchen, a mixture of vanilla and cinnamon, reminders of better days. Yet outside, whispers of an upscale development floated through the air, threatening to overshadow the heart and soul she poured into her café. In the midst of this rising tension, something beautiful began to bloom. Josh had encountered Mr. Thompson, the town's reclusive veteran, one rainy afternoon while walking home from school. The older man sat on a bench outside Rachel's café, lost in his thoughts, shrouded in silence. They struck up an unorthodox friendship. Josh would sit beside him for hours, sharing bits of his day while Mr. Thompson responded with nods and the occasional chuckle. Rachel would watch from inside, tears prickling as she marveled at how they understood each other without saying a word, their silent bond unraveling layers of unspoken stories. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. One fateful evening, Rachel, buoyed by Josh's newfound friendship, decided to attend the town hall meeting. As she stood there, her heart raced. They were discussing the development project, how it would cater to a wealthier class, seemingly ignoring the faces of struggling locals. Breath catching in her throat, she stepped forward. It was time to give a voice to the unsourced love and labor that built her café and this town. With her voice trembling yet fierce, she began to speak. Every word crafted a tapestry of hopes and fears, intertwining the struggles of families like hers, the undeniable beauty of hard work, and the vital need for community ties over luxury facades. The room thickened with listening hearts and attention that rang louder than any applause. As Rachel faced the powerful elite, she realized how much lay at stake. Would they listen? Or silence her voice along with the others? The air hung heavy with anticipation, leaving her with a single, stinging question: could her words break the chains of silence that bound them all, or would they remain trapped in the weight of unspoken truths? The tension in the room was palpable. Rachel stood at the front, her heart pounding in rhythm with the quiet murmurs around her. She could see the flicker of curiosity and doubt in the faces of the townspeople. Who was she to speak up, to suggest change? Yet, fueled by an electric mix of fear and determination, she pressed on. Every table in my café tells a story, she said, her voice stronger now. A story of laughter, of families, of community spirit. What will happen to those stories when the developers take over? We need to preserve the heart of our town, not just profit from its decay. A ripple of agreement surged through the crowd. Rachel caught glances of support, nods of recognition. The voices that had long been lost in silence were awakening. It felt like a collective sigh, like the weight of unspoken words had found space to breathe. Then, as if awakened from a slumber, Mr. Thompson rose from the back of the room. His gray hair glinted in the dim light, and his years of service in the military hung around him like a gentle cloak of wisdom. It was a surprise that drew gasps, immediately silencing the whispering crowd once more. Rachel is right, he said, his voice gravelly yet heartfelt. I've seen this town change over the years. We've fought for our livelihoods, we've fought for each other. This he gestured broadly to the plans on the table, his tone sharpened by urgency. This isn't just about new buildings. It's about what we lose when we forget the importance of the people who built this town. His words struck like lightning. Rachel could feel the stirring of hope rising within her, but doubt still lurked at the edges of her heart. What if it wasn't enough? What if they dismissed the sentiments of the common people as outdated ideals? The mayor's brow furrowed. He looked at the plans, then at Rachel and Mr. Thompson. You both need to understand that progress requires sacrifices. This development will bring jobs, money. Rachel interjected, what about the families who have lived here for generations? Jobs mean nothing if we destroy our community. We need to think long-term, to invest in our people, not just our pockets. As the debate unfolded, voices became a chorus of tension and energy. People were angry, passionate, engaged. Rachel felt her own fears begin to dissolve as she stood shoulder to shoulder with Mr. Thompson and others who shared their stories, their dreams for a future that represented more than profit. One by one, townsfolk began to share their own stories. An elderly woman spoke of the warmth of Sunday coffee hours at the café. A teacher recalled how the café had been a haven for students. Rachel felt tears stinging her eyes, their words were a balm for her weary heart, stitching together the fabric of their shared experience. But then, a voice rang out from the back, harsh and dismissive. It belonged to one of the developers. Enough of this. We're going to bring this town into the future, whether you like it or not. Don't get in our way. Rachel's heart sank. How could they dismiss the people so easily, even as they stood united against a tide of change? Just as despair threatened to pull her under, Josh's face flickered in her mind, a reminder of the innocence she fought for. With newfound courage, she took a deep breath. These are our lives you're discussing. We're not just numbers on a balance sheet. We deserve to be heard. Not in silence, but loud and clear. The crowd erupted, and Rachel knew they were standing at a crossroads. Could the shared voices of the community drown out the ominous tones of development? But as emotions flared, an unexpected turn of fate awaited behind the curtains of the town hall. Something was brewing in the dark corners, a revelation that could turn the tide of their fight. What if? Rachel's mind raced, her heart pounding with possibility. Could this battle for their beloved café spark a greater change within the community? Or would the silence of intimidation win out once more? The crowd buzzed with anticipation, voices overlapping, forming a symphony of hope and frustration. Rachel felt the weight of those emotions crashing over her like waves. She was alive in this moment, a vital part of something greater than herself. Every heartbeat matched the tempo of the conversations swirling around her. Mr. Thompson stood firm beside her. We're not just fighting for a building, he reiterated, his gaze sweeping across the room. We're fighting for our history, our connection. If we lose this, we lose part of ourselves. His words clung to the air, leaving an imprint in the minds of everyone present. But the developer's presence loomed large, a reminder of the forces they were up against. Leaning slightly forward, Rachel caught sight of the man's smug expression, as if he'd already decided their fate. The muscles in her jaw tightened. What if this was a battle they couldn't win? Just then, a young voice broke through the chatter. But why can't we have both? A girl, no older than 10, stood up in the middle of the crowd, her face lit with innocent determination. Why can't the cafe stay and we get new stuff too? I don't want to lose my favorite place. Rachel's heart swelled. The girl's words hung in the air, simple yet profound. This was about more than a cafe, it was about love, memory, and all the shared moments that made a community special. The town didn't need to pick one over the other, they could find a path forward together. Inspired by the child's courage, Rachel stepped back to the forefront. She's right. She exclaimed, wrapping her arms around the moment. It's not about opposing change. We want progress that honors our past. We want development that enhances our identity, not erases it. Each word tumbled out with rising fervor, fueled by the energy around her. The crowd cheered, voices rising again. Rachel could see determination in their eyes, an ember of change igniting in their hearts. There was a wave of unity there, as if the air itself vibrated with possibility. But just as it felt the tide might shift in their favor, a scornful laugh echoed from the developer's side. You really think they'll listen to children's dreams over dollars? Sneered the developer, a cruel smile dancing on his lips. Anger sparked in Rachel's chest. The comparison stung, but she also saw sheer disbelief in all the faces around her. They knew the truth, they were not just fighting for a café, but for respect. Suddenly, a low murmur spread across the room, rumors were sprouting like weeds. Someone in the crowd had just whispered about a piece of evidence that could possibly sway the meeting, a secret document that could change everything. Rachel's heart raced. Could this be what she had been waiting for, something to break the developer's hold? Do we have a plan? Mr. Thompson's voice broke through her thoughts. He trusted her. She had become their voice, their beacon. The question hung in the air, pregnant with urgency. Maybe, Rachel began, her voice trembling slightly. Maybe we can uncover what they don't want us to know. It could change everything. The collective breath of the room hitched. She could see the fire in their eyes, the promise of action just waiting to be ignited. However, doubt still crept in, a dark shadow lurking at the edges of Rachel's newfound resolve. What if they discovered something dangerous, something that put them at risk? With every heartbeat, Rachel felt the weight of the decision pressing down. It wasn't just the cafe anymore, it was their future. The stakes were high, but if they were going to fight, it had to be everything they had. Could the courage of one small voice provoke the change they so desperately sought? And would uncovering the truth offer the path toward a united community, or might it unravel everything they had worked for? As the shadows lengthened outside the town hall's windows, Rachel knew one thing for sure, the journey was just beginning. Rachel's mind raced as she scanned the crowd, searching for signs of hope among the anxious faces. Every heartbeat seemed to echo with doubt. How could they possibly uncover the truth, especially if the developer was as ruthless as his sneer suggested? Okay, everyone, she finally said, her voice steadying with determination. We need to gather more information. If there's a document out there that can help us, we need to find it fast. Every minute counts. Mr. Thompson nodded, rallying the crowd. Let us split up into teams. Some of you can work on digging through the archives at the library. Others can gather more stories from long-time residents. We need to show that our history matters just as much as whatever shiny new construction they've got planned. The crowd stirred, murmurs of agreement rising like the tide. Rachel felt the energy shift, filling her with a surge of hope. They were allies now, united in a common purpose. Yet, a knot of uncertainty twisted in her stomach. What if the information they discovered didn't work in their favor? As they began to divide into groups, Rachel approached the girl who had first spoken up. "What's your name, sweetie?" she asked, kneeling down to meet her gaze. "Emma," the girl replied, eyes wide with sincerity. "I just really love the cafe. My mom takes me there after school sometimes. The people are nice there." Rachel's heart ached at the truth in Emma's words. That cafe wasn't just a building, it was a sanctuary, a place woven into the very fabric of their lives. "You know, Emma," Rachel said gently, "your voice really matters. You're part of this fight too." Emma beamed, a bright light cutting through the tension. "We'll save it, right?" Emma asked, hope shining in her little face. Rachel hesitated, the weight of the moment pressing down again. "We're going to try our best," she replied, feeling the responsibility grow heavier. "But we have to be smart about how we do this." As the plan took shape, shots of adrenaline coursed through the crowd. People spoke in quick bursts, excited about the action ahead. Still, a lingering worry crept in. Was it enough? The library was dimly lit, and the air was heavy with the smell of old books as Rachel and her team sifted through stacks of dusty documents. Each piece of paper they uncovered felt like a step towards something bigger, though nothing seemed game-changing just yet. Rachel stumbled upon an old article tucked away in a fraying scrapbook. It detailed the café's original owner and his dreams for the community, all the reasons why it had become a beloved spot. She could feel a pulse of energy as she read about the struggles and triumphs tied to that space. "Guys, look at this," she called, waving the article in excitement. Her teammates rushed over, eager to see what she had found. "This tells a story," Rachel explained, a smile spreading across her face. "We can use this to show our community's legacy. This is our foundation." However, just as they began to feel a sense of triumph, the door swung open. A figure entered the library, and the momentary flicker of hope felt extinguished. It was the developer, a predatory look in his eye, scanning the room. A quiet tension filled the air, the kind that made Rachel's pulse quicken. "Fancy meeting you all here," he said, sarcasm lacing his tone. "Searching for something specific?" Rachel's heart raced, and the hope she felt threatened to rear its ugly head and fall to despair. With him here, all they had worked for felt suddenly precarious. Would this man crush their dreams before they even had a chance to take flight? She exchanged glances with Emma. A shared understanding hung between them. The fight was far from over. "What are we going to do now?" Rachel whispered as the developer stepped closer. As his looming presence filled the space, Rachel knew they had to prepare for the confrontation. Would the truth in their hands be enough to protect everything they loved? The stakes had never been higher, and the town's fate rested on a knife's edge. Would they uncover the truth in time to turn the tide against the developer's plans, or had they just invited disaster into their very hearts? Rachel felt the air grow thicker as the developer closed the distance between them. His smile was all sharp corners and concealed malice. A tension gripped the room, a collective intake of breath, waiting for the next move. It seemed like time slowed down, the thumping in her chest echoing the anxiety filling the room. "Do you always go through people's stuff without permission?" he continued, his voice dripping with disdain as he eyed the documents spread out across the table. "Or is today just a special occasion?" Rachel swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the article in her hands, her lifeline. "We're just trying to learn about our community," she said, her voice steady, masking the insecurity bubbling just below the surface. "You wouldn't understand. You're just interested in tearing it apart." His laughter was cold and uninviting. "Tearing it apart?" He leaned in closer. "Just think of it as progress. Change is what builds great communities, after all." Around her, she noticed her teammates exchanging anxious glances, their resolve wavering. But then Emma stepped forward, her small figure seeming even smaller under the developer's looming presence. "We love our town just the way it is," she declared, her voice quivering but fierce. "We're not going to let you take it away." The onlookers in the library began to murmur softly, a wave of solidarity rising from the crowd. Rachel's heart swelled with admiration for the little girl standing up for a place she cherished. "Is that so?" The developer's eyes flicked to Rachel, narrowing. "Do you really think your voices matter? You're just kids and misguided adults. I could wipe this place off the map and build something far more impressive. You don't want to get in my way." Rachel stepped forward, feeling a fire ignite within her. "And if you do that, you'll erase our stories. You'll disconnect people from their roots. That café isn't just a building, it's where memories were made. You can't put a price on that." His eyebrow arched, a flicker of challenge dancing in his expression. "I can assure you, miss," he trailed off, waiting for her name. "Rachel," she said firmly, meeting his stare. "Miss Rachel," he replied, mockingly. "This might be nostalgic for you, but this is business, and I intend to profit." You might want to find somewhere else to hang your hopes. With every word, Rachel felt the fire within her crackle hotter. No, we'll fight, she said, emphasizing every word. We may be small, but we're not going to give up. We'll find a way to save our community. The room buzzed with energy at her declaration. The developer stepped back, momentarily taken aback by the conviction in her voice. It was then that Rachel saw a flicker of fear behind his bravado. She just needed to hold on to this moment. "What's your plan, then?" he asked, his confidence faltering. "You can dig through old papers all you want, but it won't stop progress. The deadline looms, and soon your precious café will be nothing more than a faint memory." Rachel took a deep breath, steeling herself. "We'll find the truth. You think this community will roll over and die? We're just getting started." For the first time, she felt a flicker of genuine hope. It was there, nestled in the heart of their resistance. She could almost see it reflecting in the eyes of her friends around her, the way they lifted their heads a little higher. Anger still etched on the developer's face, he turned, shoving the door open. "We'll see about that." The door slammed shut behind him, leaving a stillness in its wake. In the silence that enveloped the library, Rachel closed her eyes for a brief moment. She could feel the collective heartbeat of her community. They were in this together, and with that bond, they found strength. As Rachel opened her eyes, Emma tugged at her sleeve. "Do you really think we can win?" she asked, hope mixed with uncertainty. Rachel knelt down, placing a reassuring hand on Emma's shoulder. "Yes," she said, her voice soft but imbued with determination. "But we have to act fast now. We can't wait for someone else to save us." With newfound resolve coursing through her veins, Rachel gathered her team around her. "Let's get back to work. There's still so much to uncover." As they dove back into their research, the weight of their mission pressed against them. What if they unearthed something that could truly shift the balance of power? What if, just maybe, it could turn their lives around? But as they searched, an uneasy feeling crept over Rachel. What lay beneath the surface of the café's history? Would the past hold the keys to their future, or merely reveal more darkness? The night stretched ahead, full of mystery and promise. They were on the brink of discovery, but what awaited them might change everything they thought they knew. What if they uncovered a secret that could bring the development crashing down or destroy them all? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows in the library, the mood between Rachel and her team shifted from uncertainty to determination. Rachel could feel it, a surge of energy as they gathered around their cluttered table, a small fortress against the impending threat. The walls that had witnessed countless stories now seemed to pulse with possibility. "Let's focus," Rachel said, rallying her friends. "We need to look deeper into the café's history. There must be something in the past that can help us." Emma nodded vigorously, excitement sparking in her eyes. "I remember my mom talking about how the café helped start community events. We should see if there are any old records or photographs. Maybe even articles about people who made it special." "That's a great idea," Rachel replied, encouraged. "Let's split up. Some of us can look through the newspaper archives and others can check with local historians. There has to be a reason people love this place." As they got to work, Rachel could hear the quiet buzz of conversation and the rustling of papers. Each team member began their search, their brows furrowing in concentration, hearts pulsating with the hope that this small café held the potential for its survival. Hours passed, and the library grew dimmer. Rachel sat, poring over old documents, her eyes scanning the lines of faded text. A spotlight of authenticity seemed to shine out from the letters, which spoke of love, tears, laughter, and everything the café meant to the community. Then, a particular article caught her eye, a feature about a community fundraiser that had saved the café in the past, written decades ago. "Guys, check this out," she called, waving the tattered newspaper above her head. "The café isn't just a building, it's the heart of our town. It's fought battles before. Her teammates gathered closer, anticipation painted on their faces. What does it say? Emma asked, her eyes wide with wonder. Rachel read aloud. In the summer of '85, the café served as a rallying point for the townsfolk, raising funds to avoid closure. There were bake sales, concerts, and laughter, a celebration of unity. The words flowed from her mouth, bringing warmth to the chilly library atmosphere. What if we organize something similar? Emma suggested, full of enthusiasm. A big event that showcases why the café is so important. We could involve everyone. Rachel felt a smile creeping onto her face. That's it. We can hold an event that brings people together again, to show how much the café means to us. If we can create enough noise, maybe we can even sway the sentiments of the town council, get them on our side. With that, a tangible pulse of excitement coursed through the group. They spent the evening brainstorming, live music, art contests, and local food booths, each idea adding to the vision of their event. Laughter broke out, and the atmosphere brimmed with possibility and the warmth of friendship. But as they planned, a thought flickered through Rachel's mind. What if the developer had a plan to sabotage their efforts? Would they be able to pull off an event strong enough to rally the town when they were working against such a powerful adversary? Just as they began discussing logistics, Rachel's phone buzzed with an incoming message. It was a text from her father, a clip from the local news. The headline read, "Developer prepares to break ground next month." Rachel's heart sank. Time was running out. The clock was ticking. They had to act fast, and suddenly, the stakes felt much higher than before. Could their dream of saving the café truly come to fruition, or were they racing toward a heartbreaking defeat? Rachel's breath caught in her throat. The exhilaration of planning collided with the looming reality of their deadline. She looked around at her friends, each one a beacon of hope. There was no turning back now, they had to dive deeper into this fight. Let us move. We've got a café to save, she declared, igniting their spirits once more. But inside, she grappled with an unsettling question: did they even stand a chance, or were they already too late? The next morning, the sun broke through the clouds, almost as if it sensed the urgency in Rachel's heart. The familiar aroma of fresh coffee wafted through her kitchen, but the comfort it typically brought felt distant today. She poured herself a cup, the steam swirling like her racing thoughts. They had a daunting task ahead of them, and the pressure weighed on her shoulders. Rachel arrived at the café first, the little bell above the door jingling with the same cheerful tone that had anchored so many memories. It looked as worn as she felt, but there was a hope embedded in its walls, a history to be celebrated. Rachel took a deep breath and opened her laptop at her usual table, gathering her thoughts. As she prepared for the day ahead, the other team members trickled in: Emma, Lucas, and Sophie, each ready to take on the challenge. There was a palpable sense of excitement mixed with worry in the air. "All right, team," Rachel said, tapping the table to grab their attention. "Today's the day we start contacting local businesses for sponsorships. If we can get them to support our event, it'll show the town council how invested we all are in keeping this café alive." Emma nodded enthusiastically. "I'll call the bakery down the street. They always donate treats for community events. I can reach out to local musicians," Lucas suggested, brimming with energy. "Let us get a lineup that reflects how much this place means to the community." Sophie looked solemn but determined. "I'll speak to my dad about meeting with the town council. If we can get their backing, it'll add weight to our cause." As they divided tasks, Rachel felt a flicker of hope reignite within her. The café wasn't just a place, it was a tapestry woven with the lives of those who cherished it. They were ready to add their thread to that tapestry. However, as the day progressed, the air grew tense. Rachel couldn't shake the sensation that they were racing against more than just time. Their dedicated efforts faced potential obstacles beyond their control. Just as they started making calls, Rachel noticed a shadow fall across the café entrance. She turned to see a familiar face, Mr. Thompson, the developer. He stood there, arms crossed, a contemplative look on his face. Rachel's heart raced. What was he doing here? Can I help you? Rachel asked, trying to sound more confident than she felt. He stepped inside, the bell ringing a sharp warning. I'm just curious, he said, his voice deep and steady. What are you kids planning? Rachel swallowed hard. We're organizing an event to highlight the café's importance to the community. We think it can really show everyone how valuable this place is. He raised an eyebrow, skepticism evident in his expression. You think a little event will change anything? Rachel's pulse quickened. She could feel her friends watching, their eyes filled with apprehension. This café is special. It's not just about coffee, it's about connection, memories, and community. If the town realizes that, it might just sway the council. Mr. Thompson laughed lightly, but Rachel held her ground. Look, I appreciate your enthusiasm, kid, but these things only go so far. Something in the confident way she spoke made him pause. Just be careful, he warned, turning to leave. You're playing with fire. An uneasy silence hung in the air after he exited. Rachel's heart pounded in her chest, a mix of fear and determination swirling within her. She looked around at her friends, they were staring wide-eyed. Did he truly have the power to crush their plans? Maybe he's right, Lucas whispered, his face pale. What if we can't pull this off? No, listen, Rachel interrupted quickly. If we don't try, we'll lose. I want to let fear dictate our actions. We need to push harder, not back down. The resolve in her voice seemed to lift their spirits again. But deep down, Rachel knew she had to uncover more about this developer's interests before it was too late. As they resumed their work, Rachel scanned the room, wondering what else was lurking in the shadows of their fight. Did the past hold secrets that could turn the tide in their favor? And would these threads of history lead to a surprise that could not only save the café but also transform their community's future forever? Time would tell, but she had to act fast. The café needed its champions now more than ever. The tension in the café seemed to thicken like the mist that hung over the town in the early mornings. Rachel glanced at her friends, their faces painted with determination but still a hint of doubt lingered behind their smiles. She took a deep breath, trying to draw strength from what they were building together. Let us focus on what we can control, Rachel said, her voice steady. We can start small, a few sponsors can lead to bigger ones. If we show dedication, the town will notice. Lucas nodded, shaking off the doubt. Right. As long as we believe in what we're doing, we can persuade them. Emma was already scribbling notes. What if we made a video? Show everyone the joy this place brings. We could collect stories from the regulars. Good idea. Sophie exclaimed. Our community's voices need to be heard. People who love this café will share their experiences. It'll remind everyone why it's worth saving. They split tasks with renewed energy. Emma wanted to draft a script for the video while Lucas lined up interviews with folks who hung out at the café daily. Rachel's mind raced as she thought of how deeply their stories could touch hearts. With a renewed purpose, Rachel opened the café door to let in the spring breeze that carried whispers of hope. Faces filled the small space, familiar ones that had made this gathering spot a second home. The clinking of cups and laughter threaded through the café, warming Rachel's spirit. But amidst the chatter, she noticed an older woman sitting alone, staring wistfully at her coffee. Mrs. Jenkins, a longtime patron known for her tales of the café's history, was a library of memories. Rachel felt an irresistible pull to her. Mrs. Jenkins. Rachel approached cautiously. May I join you? The woman looked up, her eyes blinking with surprise before a smile spread across her face. Oh, Rachel, dear. It's been too long. Too long indeed, Rachel replied, happy to be reminded of their connection. We're working on something special today. We're trying to save the cafe. We want to showcase what it means to all of us. Mrs. Jenkins leaned forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. My late husband and I used to come here every Saturday for tea. This place was our meeting ground, our sanctuary. You must gather stories like ours. We all have a piece of this cafe inside us. Rachel's heart swelled. Your story could be the heart of our video. Would you share it with us? Mrs. Jenkins nodded, her voice quivering with nostalgia. Well, darling, it all started on a rainy day when I met my true love here. As Mrs. Jenkins spoke, Rachel felt as though the old cafe walls were embracing them, listening in. She captured the essence of every word, longing for more stories to weave into their project. Hours slipped away as stories flowed and the cafe buzzed with life. Ideas took root, and laughter became the glue binding their group tighter. But as the sun dipped low, Rachel remembered Mr. Thompson's warning. Doubts slinked their way back into her thoughts. Could they really succeed against such commercial weight? Hey, Lucas said, joining her. He watched the group with pride. Look at what we're building. We can give those people hope, we can show them why this cafe matters. There was strength in his words, but uncertainty lingered in her mind. What did Mr. Thompson truly want? And what was he willing to do to ensure his vision prevailed? The night closed in, and as they packed up their things, Rachel felt a bolt of determination. She had to confront that shadow lurking in the town's future. Gathering her friends, she shared her suspicions about Thompson. Tomorrow, we dig deeper. Rachel declared. We need to know his intentions and what secrets lie beneath the surface of this fight. Their eyes sparkled with resolve, but a question hung heavy between them: what if they uncovered something they weren't ready for? Would the truth unite them or fracture their resolve? And in that moment, Rachel knew the stakes were higher than she had ever imagined. All she could do was hope that whatever truth awaited them wouldn't shatter the fragile strength they had built together. The next morning dawned, bright and clear, but Rachel felt a storm brewing inside her. She stood in front of the cafe, its familiar shingle swaying gently in the breeze, but somehow it looked different today, more vulnerable. The weight of her mission pressed down on her chest. Okay, team, Lucas said, tapping his notebook against his leg. We meet in an hour outside the cafe. Emma and Sophie, you'll work on the outline for the video based on the stories we collected yesterday. I'll set up interviews. It's time we heard from folks who love this place. Rachel nodded, but her mind was somewhere else entirely. She watched Emma scramble, her hands animated as she described her ideas for the screenplay. Sophie chimed in, bouncing around new angles and visuals. The energy was infectious, but part of Rachel held back. She could feel the tension coil in her gut. Wait, Rachel interrupted, raising a hand. Before we dive in, can we talk about Mr. Thompson? If we're going to approach him, we need a plan. We can't just jump in blindly. True, Lucas agreed, scratching his chin. But what if we just focus on the positive for now? Let us show the town what the cafe means before diving into confrontation. Sophie frowned, adjusting her glasses. But what if we wait too long and he makes a move? We might lose our chance. Their eyes met, heavy with the fear of uncertainty. Rachel felt the weight of their hopes hanging in the air, but she also sensed an undercurrent of dread. If they didn't act decisively, would they just be waiting for the ground to crumble beneath their feet? Let us gather the stories first, Rachel said, grounding herself. Then we can decide how to approach Thompson with confidence. It'll give us a stronger position. Everyone nodded in agreement, though she could still see hesitation in their eyes. As they began their day, Rachel's mind flashed back to Mrs. Jenkins' heartfelt story. The warmth of it took root in her, reminding her that what they were fighting for was more than just a building. It was about love, friendship, and history. It was about sharing the space that welcomed them all. They broke into pairs and began interviewing the regulars, capturing laughter and memories. Each story flowed like a river, weaving a tapestry of how the café had stitched together their lives. Rachel noted each tale in her journal, feeling the ache of gratitude for the community surrounding her. But as the day wore on, the atmosphere shifted. When they reconvened after lunch, Emma burst in, her face pale. "You won't believe what I just heard. I bumped into someone who said Thompson is meeting investors today, and they're considering demolishing the café to build a parking lot." Rachel's heart dropped. A sliver of panic gripped her. "But we can still act. How much time do we have?" Lucas stepped forward, looking more serious than Rachel had ever seen him. "We don't know. But if we don't act now, we might lose everything. We need to communicate urgency to the community. Those stories can't wait." The group shared glances, hearts racing as they grasped the gravity of what lay ahead. They had to unite their voices, and quickly. Suddenly, Rachel felt the fire ignite within her. "Let us gather everyone who shared their stories. If we can present our plans at the town hall meeting tonight, we can create a unified front. We'll show Thompson that we're not just a café, we're a community." Excitement bubbled in the room, each face lighting up with renewed purpose. They began strategizing how to gather people, how to craft the story to present that evening. As Rachel glanced at her friends, determination mingled with anxiety. They stood on the precipice of something monumental. But could they truly rally the town against a man with the power and connections to erase their beloved café? And so, the hour approached for them to make their move. As they shared frantic whispers, a realization washed over Rachel. This wasn't just about saving the café anymore, it was also about standing up for every dream shattered by indifference. Would the community rise to the occasion, or would they cower in fear? The question lingered, heavy in the air, as they prepared to face whatever awaited them that night. The air outside the town hall was electric, each breath filled with anticipation and hope. Rachel stood at the front of her small group, the faces of her friends reflecting her own mix of determination and trepidation. They had managed to gather some stories, and now they held the weight of a community's memories on their shoulders. It was more than just a café, it was a piece of their collective soul. Inside, the council room buzzed with conversation, a cacophony of voices and hushed whispers. Rachel took a moment to breathe deeply, steadied by the warm presence of her friends beside her. "This is it," she whispered. "Whatever happens, we speak from our hearts." As the meeting commenced, the council members reviewed budgets and plans. Their discussions felt hollow compared to the vibrant stories Rachel and her team held. One by one, they spoke, relaying anecdotes that captured the essence of the café, their sanctuary, the place where they had loved, lost, and laughed. Each narrative wove into a tapestry that not only showcased the café but the community's spirit. "Rachel?" The mayor's voice snapped Rachel back to the room. "Do you have anything else to add?" With a swift glance at her friends, she took a deep breath and stood. As she walked to the front, her heart raced but then steadied with purpose. "We're not just asking you to save a building," she said, her voice resonating through the room. "We're asking you to see what this café represents, a history of our people." The crowd murmured in agreement. Rachel felt the warmth of their support enveloping her. She continued, "This café has been a gathering space, a home for the stories we cherish. Just yesterday, I learned about how it helps start community events. It's not just about coffee, it's our lifeblood." Rachel spotted Mr. Thompson in the crowd, his arms crossed defensively. She met his gaze, ready for anything. "If you build a parking lot instead of investing in our future, you're erasing the heart of this town. Our stories matter. We matter." Across the room, an elderly woman wiped a tear from the corner of her eye, while others nodded, their expressions reflectively serious. A tight bond sparked among the townsfolk that felt palpable. "Let us be honest," Rachel pressed on, her voice rising with passion, "we don't want gentrification dressed up as so-called progress. Families have lived here for generations, and businesses like the café support the values of connection and community." The murmurs intensified, rising to a crescendo of solidarity. Eyes once filled with worry now flickered with determination. Rachel glanced back at her friends. They were ready to fight. "Rachel," called the mayor, his brow furrowed. "Your passion is palpable, but there's still the matter of logistics. We need to consider, have you even asked the community how they feel?" A voice rang out from the back. It was Mrs. Jenkins, her voice shaking but fierce. "You've overlooked us for too long." The crowd erupted into applause and cheers, their voices rising up like a wave crashing down. Rachel felt a spark igniting. They were more than ready to take a stand. She turned to her team, and together they took a step forward. "Let us make it clear." Rachel grabbed the microphone, her voice ringing clear. "We want a compromise. We want developments that include our truths, our stories. Not at our expense but with our collaboration." The energy in the room shifted. It felt as if they had turned the tide. Every person in that room seemed to believe in the possibility of a united front. "Are we really going to let development erase our history?" Rachel called out, looking directly at the council. "The heart of our town beats within these walls. Let us honor it." Just then, Mr. Thompson stepped forward, a smug expression fading into something more contemplative. "You think memories will change the reality of progress?" "No, we think memories are key to progress." Rachel shot back, her heart racing with defiance. "We can build something wonderful that honors our roots. We just need you to listen. Perhaps it's not just up to us," said another council member, an older gentleman who had been watching intently. "Perhaps we need to embrace what the community has to say." A hush fell over the room. Could they be swayed? The council deliberated, but as they gathered to discuss, Rachel could sense the change within their ranks. They weren't just decision-makers anymore, they were human beings connected to the hearts around them. "Rachel," the mayor spoke at length when the chatter simmered into silence. "You've stirred something in this meeting. I think we owe it to our townsfolk to explore a plan that honors both progress and our history." The room erupted: cheers, applause, tears. Rachel felt the swell of emotion surge through her body. They were doing this together. As she turned to her friends, they embraced, laughter mingling with tears of joy. They had laid bare their fears and aspirations, igniting a flame that couldn't be snuffed out. Josh's radiant smile danced through her mind, each small voice increased their strength. With the meeting concluding, Rachel knew this was just a step. The bond forged would take them miles ahead, but that sparkle of hope had transformed into something solid, something real. And as sunlight streamed through the town hall's windows, Rachel couldn't help but think, together, they'd written a new chapter in their community's story, one where silence was broken, and every voice counted. Now it was time to embrace the challenge ahead, step by step, heart by heart. It was time for everyone to rise together. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending.